Welcome everybody to our meeting for this evening. Would you please all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
And to the republic for which it stands,
One nation, God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Welcome everybody again. And Pam, would you please do the roll call, please?
Michael Ferry.
Here.
Sonia Brajic.
she's here.
Here. Okay.
Jennifer
Okay.
Bretz. Diane Cibatoni.
Here.
Vince DiAugustine.
Here.
Jeannie Smith.
Here.
Paul Ward.
Here.
Scott Learn.
Here.
Tony Bompiani.
Here.
And we also have Gianna and Jacob. Are you online? Okay.
Okay.
Gianna's here.
All righty. I want to inform everybody before we get started that on February the 22nd, we had an executive session from 5:30 to 8:26 p.m. to review feasibility study participants, presenters. And then this evening, again, we had an executive sessions from 5:30 to 7 o'clock and another feasibility study presentation, and also to discuss personnel matters. And with that, we'll move on to the mission statement. Gianna?
The Hempfield Area School District, in its commitment to excellence, shall engage and educate all students for personal success through a shared responsibility with the student, family, and community in a safe, secure, and nurturing environment.
No one told you to calm down, did they?
No.
Okay, we'll move on to Superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Bompiani. We have a number of items this evening, and the first is going to start with recognition of one of our teachers, Mrs. Erica Shaffrin, and receiving an award. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Connor so he can provide the introduction, and there is a link to some information that she will be sharing with us on our public agenda. Dr. Connor?
Thank you, Dr. Walicki. I am very proud to announce that our own Mrs. Erica Shaffron was awarded the Pennsylvania State Modern Language Association's Global Educator Award. She is only one of 17 educators in the state to earn this recognition, and she's done a tremendous job bringing the Global Scholars Program to the high school that has really opened up so many opportunities for our students. And in the current global pandemic, the importance of interconnectedness and interdependence of countries in the world has become ever more evident. And I just have to applaud Mrs. Shaffron and her vision and ambition to bring this program to us at Hempfield. So, Ms. Shaffron, if you'd like to talk a little bit about the program itself and the award, please do so.
Thank you, Dr. Connor. I'm so excited to be here today to share with you a little bit of what we've done at the high school. Dr. Willicke, I think I shared with you a little PowerPoint I wanted to present. I had a little video of one of our seniors I wanted to share with you tonight.
Is it embedded in the PowerPoint?
Yes. Did you get the one that said March 1st? Because there were two. I sort of pared one down.
This one says the title is March 1st.
Perfect. That's the one. Yeah. When we changed over curriculum, when we adopted our new curriculum in 2015, we also adopted the Global Scholars. It's a program sponsored by PSMLA, the Pennsylvania State Modern Language Association. And it sort of helps us to develop students with 21st century skills. So cultivating interculturality, creating global competence, helping students realize that there are that they're going to be interacting with students with diverse cultural backgrounds, and also just different languages, different skills. So we created a program to sort of help support that and to make a more well-rounded student, whether or not they go on to college or into the workforce. We thought it was important to give them an opportunity to sort of hone those skills. So that's what I wanted to share with you tonight. Dr. Willicke, will I be able to see the PowerPoint as it goes through or not? This is a different format for me.
You Sure will. I thought I had it, and I apologize. I'm opening it
Oh, no,
now.
this-
Yep. Get back to
Thank
it.
you.
Sure.
I'm not used to being on this end of a Google Meet.
Can you see it now?
Yes, that's exactly it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So what's important is if you would go down 2 slides. I think that this is really interesting is just within Pennsylvania, there are approximately 1.6 million jobs that are connected to over 210 countries and territories. And that alone is reason enough to decide to, okay, we need to have students who are culturally aware. There are over 6,500 foreign-owned businesses in Pennsylvania that employ more than 335,000 Pennsylvanians. So 1 in 5 jobs is connected to the broader economy. So again, it's really important for our students to have a better view of the world. On the next slide, I really like the graphic on it because it sort of shows which companies are in Pennsylvania, the bulk of them being from the United Kingdom, and then second, Netherlands, Germany, et cetera, et cetera. But there are a lot of private owned businesses in Pennsylvania. And before I came to Hempfield, I worked for a German-owned company in Greensburg. It was in South Greensburg, of all places. So you never know what you're going to run into in our state. So the next slide just sort of shows the components so you understand what we're asking of the students. But generally the program's broken down into 4 years. So they can start the program when they're freshmen and go the whole way to when they're seniors. We always have students, we have 3 seniors this year who started as seniors, and they'll finish in the course of 1 year just because they were sort of primed already to go ahead and do that. But essentially we look at 4 components. So we look at number 1, 8 credits of courses with the global perspective. So that would be their language course from freshman to senior year, as well as our courses are really, they cut across all of the disciplines. So I'll share that with you and you can sort of see what's offered. They have to do 8 literature and media reviews over the course of 4 years, 20 hours of community service, and 4 extracurricular activities with the global nature. And our teachers, our world language teachers, do a wonderful job of creating opportunities for students to do that. So for example, Madame Hardin created an outreach to bring in some French soccer into her classroom. Ms. Fetterman created an opportunity to create videos and reach out to the elementary students. Some of my students are making Valentine's Day cards and decorating for local nursing homes and sharing German, French, and Spanish with the residents. So those are just some examples of some of the things that we're doing. And on the next slide are the courses that are offered at the high school that students can take. So they actually just have to do 2 additional courses because they do a course, the English 10th, their 10th grade English and world history. They take care of their 10th grade year and they can mix and match. And we just added, the world language department added the global perspectives course, which works really well with this program. So I just sort of wanted you to see what was offered at the high school. And then my next slide is one of our seniors, Claire Bryan. I don't know if you know her, but she is a tremendous student. She is she's an AP Spanish and she's also in German 4. She was the recipient of the CBYX scholarship. So actually she should be in Germany this year studying at a German high school. That's through the Congress Bundestag Youth Exchange Program. And because of the pandemic, they canceled it, but they are doing some wonderful outreach with them. But she's one of our global scholars, and I just wanted to share her perspective with all of you. So Dr. Willicke, that should be a little video that you can click on and it pulls up.
And I think because I downloaded it as a PDF, I'm going back to your email to open it. Yes, I think you're able to open it. I was not able to from there. Let me open it from here.
Okay. I just want to let her shine a little bit.
I
She's
can play it
just
on the screen.
a really amazing young lady.
Dark. Oh, you're right.
Oh, there she is.
It
I'm a
did.
computer illiterate.
You helped me, Dr. Bompiani. Thank you. I'm going to just play it from my screen in the room. Erica, if that's okay, just so we don't have it playing
Yeah.
on 2 computers here.
Oh, do you want me to? I'll mute my mic.
That would be great. I'm going to stop it because it's not playing through the microphone. If I play it on this computer, thank you, Rob. Those of you in the room just won't be able to see, but you'll be able to see her on the screen. You'll have to
Hi
listen to
there,
her.
my name is Claire Bryan. I'm a senior at the high school and I've been a Global Scholar for 2 years now. What I can say about Global Scholars is that I definitely don't regret partaking in this activity and this extracurricular, if you will. I truly believe that Global Scholars has allowed me to metacognitively create and make global connections and obtain different perceptions from around the world and different cultures. And beforehand, I don't feel as though I could have done that or prompted myself the same questions. I feel as though right now, when I'm reading books, watching movies, looking at a TV series, I can't help but ask myself many and several questions about what culture is this? Why is this behavior a certain way? Why do they speak this language? What is this tradition? And it truly just stems back to what I think about during my literature and media reviews for Global Scholars, and I just think that Global Scholars has really pushed me as an individual in my education, and not only school, but my global education, and creating this open-mindedness within me. So I think that Global Scholars would be super important and beneficial to students all over the world, but in our school as well, for making global connections, being more open-minded, and also pushing their own individual education for themselves to be more globally connected as a global citizen.
Done.
Thank you, Dr. Wilkie. And then the final slide I wanted to share is just the Global Scholars since we started. So we started in 2015 with our very first graduate in 2016. We sort of helped pilot the program for PSMLA. And right now we're looking at having a total of 42 Global Scholar graduates from 2016 until 2021. So I'm very proud of all of the work these students put in, and what they get from the program, and that they chose to better themselves by going through the program. And I think that there might be one more slide with a picture. So if they complete the program, this is in our showcase at the high school. Their name gets put on the Global Scholars plaque. And we've almost filled an entire plaque since we started. And then, of course, they have the options. Well, they get honor cords to wear, and also a certificate at graduation. So that's what I wanted to share with you tonight. Thank you for listening to our program.
I'll open it up for any questions from any school board members in regards to Erica's presentation.
What a terrific presentation, Erica. Very, very nice, well done. In this day and age of global markets and everything else going on, to see this happening in our school, our hat's off to you. Thank you so much. This is Tony Bompiani speaking. But I'm going to go around to the room to each school board member. Scott?
I think she went over and above, our expectations, and we're very proud. It's a wonderful accomplishment.
Diane?
Thank you.
This is an amazing program, and thank you so much.
Paul?
Thank you very much. Very good presentation. I work for a global company that has facilities and employees around the world, and I think it's so important to have that perspective, and I think it's really, really good, and I'm glad to see it. I think it's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vince?
Thank you so much, and congratulations. We appreciate your hard work.
Thank
Mike?
you.
Thank you, Erica. Erica, for a great presentation. I know a couple of the names, few of the names up on your list there of current and previous students, and they all have something in common. They're all overachievers, and they're eager to learn. So if anyone has the opportunity to do this, it's eye-opening once you get out of Greensburg, Westmoreland, Pennsylvania, and U.S., what you can see. So keep up the good work.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Sonia?
No, I'm good. Thank you, Erica.
And Jeannie? Microphone, Jean. You not on?
Yes.
Good now?
And we may need to come
Okay.
back to her.
What was the young lady's name in the video, Erica?
Claire Bryan.
What a beautiful presentation she gave. So professional, so well done. What a nice program. Really, really nice.
Thank you, Dr. Bombiani.
Thank you so much.
And just in closing, Erica, I'll say we're very proud of you, proud of the hard work, the work of our students, and I think it's an example of how we're achieving our mission and preparing our students for personal success. So thank you very much for sharing this evening. Keep up the great work.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we will turn now to the second part of the superintendent's report. And we have 3 presenters lined up this evening in regards to the district's financial operations. And we're going to start first with First National Bank. We have with us Dan Robles, who is going to be sharing with us some information. And I just want to give a little background as to why we're doing this. We've invited these 3 different organizations this evening because we've had some questions regarding our services, and our services in regards to our business insurance, workers' compensation, which Dan is here and is going to start with workers' compensation, as well as our energy providers. We have some school board members who've recently asked some great questions in regards to how do we know that we're getting the best rates. So I guess all 3 of these services we have been using for quite a long time, and felt it would be really important to provide an opportunity for our school board to get to meet these individuals and to hear from them as to how they go about securing the best rates for our school district. So with that, I know I have a PowerPoint presentation that I will display on 2 different computers for this presentation, or is it for this one? Okay, let me just give me 1 second to get your presentation displayed. It is attached to your agenda for our board members. I may just pull it from there. Is it the same, Dan, if I pull it from here versus the flash drive?
Yeah, it should be the same.
You're much taller than the last presenter.
Dan, we have 2 board members participating virtually, so I'll be operating 2 computers just so they can see the information as you're presenting. Thank you, Rob. Ready when you are.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Hi, my name is Dan Robles with First National Insurance Agency. I, along with the other individuals listed on the screen, represent the team from First National Insurance that handles the workers' compensation for the district. On the next slide, we have the footprint of our agency mirrors the footprint from the bank, so we stretch across Pennsylvania into Maryland, Ohio, and down into the Carolinas. On the next slide, it runs through with the size of our operation and with our agency. It allows us to have an internal claims department, internal risk management, and an experienced staff that can assist from service. What we do is we combine that along with the services offered by the workers' compensation carriers to tailor a program designed to meet the needs of each individual client. On the next slide, runs through a comparison of where we were when we started working with Hempfield School District to where we are currently. So in 2008, Hempfield School District was paying over $411,000 in premium based on a payroll of $41 million. When we went through the last renewal for the district, the initial pricing came in at $359,000 based on payroll of 42.8 or 1 million more in payroll. Due to the risk control efforts and the claims that we've integrated both what Eastern Alliance can do, who we have you with currently, what we do with an agency, and the team that you have here at Hempfield, we were able to negotiate the pricing down from $359,000 to $331,000. In addition to that, and I'll get into this here in a minute, but we've also initiated a dividend program for the district that's based on your claims experience. So when the claims perform well and it's profitable, we've returned back to Hempfield over $100,000 in dividends. On the next slide, runs through the experience mod. We were trending and working very closely on the risk management with both the safety committee, with your staff internally to drive down your experience mod, because these numbers reflect the impact of the claims that you've had and have a direct impact on the pricing that you pay for your workers' compensation premium. Unfortunately, in 16 and 17 policy years, we did have some large losses that have driven the experience mod up. The good news is that for the next renewal, not the one that's coming up this July, but the following one, we're actually going to have over $300,000 in claims come off of the experience mod and drive your premium down. So we're positioned very well, not just for this year that I'll get to in a minute, but also moving forward once that year comes off. For the year that we're in currently, through the end of January, we have just over $5,500 in losses or claims. So that's going to replace that over $300,000 in claims that we had in the 17 to 18 policy year. So again, doing a fantastic job from that standpoint. Out of the schools that I handle, I have districts that range anywhere from a 0.848 to a 1.349. Again, with the losses going in for the next, not this coming renewal, but the following one, you'll see your experience mod drop drastically. On the next slide, I wanted to step through, because this is the first time that I'm meeting a lot of you. So I'm going to try to, as quickly as I can, get us to where we started to where we are right now. So when we first came in, we were able to save the district a substantial amount of money, mirrored the service program that you had had previously through the old PSBA program, or what is now CM Regent. We placed the coverage for the district with Zurich Insurance Company. They did very good for a couple years, but we go out to market on your behalf each year and have conversations with the different carriers that are out there to make sure that we do have you in the best spot and that we're not just being complacent on our end. So in 2012, we received a quote from Highmark Insurance. They came in not only with more aggressive pricing, but a service platform where their risk control was sitting in on your safety meetings on a monthly basis, and the claims reviews that we would come out with Highmark and sit down and go through on quarterly, reviewing all the claims, what could be done to prevent future claims, get people back to work as quickly as possible. On the next page, in 2016, Highmark became part of Brick Street. Not long after that period, we started to experience some service issues on the claims side. We had our internal claims department at First National try to resolve the issues, but unfortunately those issues continued. So we went out to market, and we have another carrier that also does a very good job that we marketed to. They came in with very aggressive pricing, were able to address the claims concerns that we had. So once we did get that competitive quote, we brought not only their underwriting department in, but we brought their claims folks in and their service folks to meet with your team here to make sure that there was a comfort level, that things would get better, that we'd be in a better position for the district. So after that meeting, we received positive feedback from your staff on how that went. They forwarded a motion to the board for the board's approval to make the switch over to Eastern Alliance at that time. Eastern has been a fantastic partner for the district. One thing that I wanted to let you know is that Eastern Alliance, I don't know how many of you are familiar with them, all they do is workers' compensation, and they do it very well. In addition to that, as a side note, I didn't throw on here, but the underwriter that's been out to meet with your team and go through this, she was also a graduate of Hempfield School District. So she likes to throw in that she wants to make sure that she's doing the best job possible for the district. We continue to market and look at the markets that are out there to make sure that we have you in the best spot. Wanted to run through on the next slide, looks at some of the markets that we went to last year on your behalf to make sure that, again, we don't want to just assume that we have the best program. So on here, Encova is what was both Highmark and Brick Street is now under a new name, Encova. Because of the service issues we had from them and they did not get the quote back to us by the need by date that I could get to Wayne and he could present to the board the options, we did not pursue that any further. You can see the other companies we went to, Synergy, Berkshire Hathaway, Memic Group, Key Risk, CM Regent, Hartford, Rockwood, and Employers, none of which would put you in a better position than where you were. We also had conversations with UPMC. They had provided a quote to the district, I believe it was 2 years before. They were substantially higher than where Eastern Alliance is. And it's something that because of the service platform, how well Eastern's team is working with your team, we did not want to move just for the sake of moving when we have something working very well. And the projected mod for 21 to 22 is about the same as where we are this year. However, again, with the losses that I'd mentioned before, with that 300,000 coming out, 5,000 going in, we're positioned not only for this renewal, but the following renewal, we're in a very good position. Eastern Alliance has already provided us with a renewal indication for the upcoming year. So the year we're in right now, with 42.8 million in payroll, the premium's just over 331,000. We have a renewal indication from them of 307,000. So your premium's going down this year because the claims have been good, even though the experience mod is not actually hit and developed until next year. And again, the 5,500 in losses is claims through January 30th. So if we have anything from now till the renewal date of July 1st, that can have an impact for the district. Another area that I wanted to mention to the board was that with everything going on with COVID and all the negatives associated with COVID, one area where we were able to help save the district is the reclassifying of employees. So while you had teachers working from home, teaching remotely, which I believe was from March until the end of the school year, we were able to get Eastern to redo their audit to move payroll for those teachers, which is over $8 million in payroll, over to clerical class code, as opposed to the class code that they have while they're working here. We just got the number in. That's going to save over $52,000 for the school district. And you'll be seeing that come through here in the next few days. So that's something that a lot of carriers will make the change if you bring it to them. Eastern is very proactive in doing everything they can to save money for their clients. And that's something that I've been working with your team here to make sure that we did get that savings for Hempfield also. Stewardship plan, we're in constant communication with your team to make sure that from both a risk management and driving down claims, as well as the service platform, that we're meeting your needs. And if there's areas that we can improve, we don't want to wait till the next renewal cycle to find out. We want to make sure we're doing that on an ongoing basis. So, yeah, that's, again, trying to encapsulate what we've done from 2008 to where we are right now. So I didn't want to jump through it too quick, but I wanted to give you time to get home this evening. So if there's any questions that you have, or if it's deeper than what we can get into tonight, more than happy to stop out at any time and dive deeper into where we've been, issues that we've had, and how we've addressed them.
Want to take any questions?
Questions from board members in the room? Online, any questions?
I don't have any questions. Thank you for saving us that money.
It's my pleasure.
Dan, I appreciate you being here. It was a nice report. I did ask kind of for this because I asked to review all of our expenditures and bring people in so that we could look and make sure we're getting the best bang for our buck. Your report is very, very nice, and it looks like you're saving us a lot. My question to you is, Wayne, we have not put this out for bid since they began, right? To entertain other insurance carriers, providers, or independent?
Brokers.
Brokers, yes.
Yeah, I mean, as we see on the board, you know, as our broker, he has shopped it around, but we haven't actually gone out and looked.
Well, I mean for the broker. I'm
Yeah,
not talking
no, we
about
have not.
insurances. He
We
shops
have not.
around for us. Okay, and I, as a private business owner myself, I look at my brokers all the time and the people that find me the insurances and how they're doing it. It keeps everybody on their toes. So it's good to have you in here. I appreciate it very, very much.
Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity to come again. First time meeting a lot of the members of the board. Again, directly to your point, as an agency with the size of our operation, I wanted to show you the carriers that we did go out to obtain quotes. That's something that we do each and every year to make sure that we're doing our job by representing the district.
And you're doing a good job. And on top of that, you understand the method and the reasoning for competition. I mean, I have my small business that I look for competition to make sure I'm getting the best bang for my dollar.
Right.
And I owe it as an elected official for the school district to do the exact same thing. I think you and everybody else in this room can accept that and appreciate that. And I appreciate you being here, so thank you for the report.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
I have a quick question,
yeah.
if I could. Sorry. You had mentioned that $100,000 in the dividend program. Over what period of time was that?
So that was, when we first started working with the district, you did not have a dividend program.
Okay.
When we made the switch over to Highmark Group, that's when the dividend kicked in.
So 2008 or?
Yeah, well, we started working with the district 2009. I think it was around 2012 when we made the switch over to Eastern Alliance. Now that tracks with the claims history. So unfortunately, we have had a number of claims, especially in the custodial maintenance staff, that have kept the claims higher, and would be more than happy to stop out and sit down and go through those individual claims, where they're coming from and what's caused us to miss getting a dividend on some of the years. But we have returned back, again, over $100,000 through a program that you did not have previously.
No, that's great. And that helps. I just wanted to have a
Okay.
feel for
Yeah,
what period.
Right, yeah, and that's something, and again, I apologize about hitting just too many bullet points and kind of jumping through, but would be more than happy to sit down and go through.
No, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Your report was very good with the expedience of it, too. You didn't have to belabor it. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Dan, will you ask Greg to come in next? Thank you.
Just for the public's notification, we're waiting for another presenter to come in from the anteroom. Hello.
Right here?
Yes.
Wayne, do you mind
Right
doing
at the microphone.
a brief introduction? Do you mind?
The next presentation will be Greg Camarata, who is with Keytex Energy. Keytex Energy works with our consortium at the intermediate unit for natural gas and electricity pricing. What we've asked Greg to share with us tonight is a little bit about Keytex, a little bit about their process, and a little bit about the results that they've obtained for Hempfield, as well as the consortium.
Thank you, Wayne. All right, I'm assuming everybody has a copy of the presentation?
Yes, we did share, and we also have 2 board members participating virtually, so they're able to see. I'm sharing the screen with them as well.
Okay, fantastic. Well, again, my name's Greg Camerata. I'm the president of Keytex Energy. I really appreciate the opportunity to come out and talk to everybody tonight. Keytex Energy has actually been working with Hempfield School District for about 12 years now. And I think when we started, the mix of board members here was quite different. So I think it's good to come out every now and then and just give everybody a refresher as far as who we are. And I think it's a good opportunity to go over the results and how we've done over the past 10 years. So if we go to the next slide, what the goals of the presentation tonight are, again, we're just going to have a refresher of who Keytex Energy is. We're going to explain where Keytex Energy falls in relation to the thousands that you can work with to buy your energy. The energy space has become very crowded over the years. You have lots of different folks calling you, call centers and whatnot, and I'm sure Wayne can attest to that. But we're going to kind of explain to you the different folks that fall into different categories. The third item, we're going to go over some local and regional companies that use Keytex Energy for their energy procurement. Fourth, we're going to review demand response performance. And then lastly, we're going to go over performance of electricity and natural gas procurement. Next slide, please. So in our industry, experience matters. And what I'd like to go over about Keytex Energy, we're quite different than a lot of the other people in the marketplace. Keytex Energy was built on technical professionals. So we're largely engineers, quantitative analysts, analytical types, market analysts. You can see the types that are or the companies that are represented on the bottom. We have folks from Allegheny Energy, the old Allegheny Energy, now it's First Energy, PJM, Strategic Energy, Direct Energy, Hess Corporation. So our goal in how Keytex Energy was structured years ago was, in most cases, whether it's a school district or whether it's a large, a large steel mill or some sort of commercial establishment, usually you have a situation like someone like Wayne, a business manager, that's responsible for all aspects of procurement. And, that goes from pencils to papers to energy. And energy can be quite complicated. So the way Keytex is structured is we essentially become a back office of technical professionals that people like Wayne can draw on to get his job done. We give the peace of mind that proper decisions are being made. All kinds of market analytics are being done to back up all of the transactions that we're recommending. And these things are being done by people that have been in the industry for a long, long time. Next page. One of the things that we feel is a very important qualification is PJM membership in the energy industry. Keytex Energy, ever since we started, has been a member of PJM. PJM is essentially the New York Stock Exchange of electricity. So the grid, power flows every day back and forth on a wholesale basis, and PJM is called an RTO, and that RTO for PJM covers about 13 states. So when you look at power plants being dispatched, power being sold from one location to another, retail contracts being done, that's all being done in the PJM marketplace. And again, when you look at the people that can potentially sell you electricity, very few of them are PJM members. And we feel that, in today's markets that are saturated, obviously, with a lot of different people and a lot of different qualifications, we feel this is something that matters. and it's something that you should take a look at and be cognizant about it, when you decide who you're going to work with. The next slide, slide 5. We feel another very important aspect of shopping for energy is dealing with someone that has a large market presence. Not only does it show a significant group of other customers have evaluated and they trust a consultant, but it also gives us more leverage with suppliers. So Keytex, one of the things that makes us extremely unique is we deal with both energy consumers and energy generators. Most everybody you're going to find in the marketplace, they are strictly on the energy consumer side. A lot of those folks, the qualifications that you need to sell energy, on the lowest level is a relationship with one supplier. If they have that, they can go out and go to a business and they can essentially say, hey, I can get you a great rate on electricity or natural gas, and they call that one supplier up and they pass that price on to the customer. Well, in terms of market presence, when you deal with energy generators, these are the biggest of the big plants in the eastern United States, large supercritical coal-fired generators. They're generating on a yearly basis nearly $1 billion worth of energy. And so it takes, to first of all, to get a job doing that for some of those companies, it's a very rigorous process where they analyze your background and your technical qualifications and everything about your business. So just being able to do that is kind of a statement as to your stance in the market. So when you look at both sides of who we represent, it comes to about 35 billion kilowatt hours, or about $2 billion a year in energy. So it's a very, very large market presence. Our wholesale-related services, next page, you can see those are two of the coal-fired plants that we make market decisions for. We optimize energy output on a 24/7 basis, make market decisions, dictate when the plants run and the economics surrounding their operation. So again, this combined with the retail side is kind of the full scope of who we manage. So next slide, slide 7. This is kind of how we start with the full group of who can serve you. It's literally thousands of companies, and it's kind of represented by the group of folks at the top. It's telemarketers, call centers, brokers, background isn't really important for that group. You go down to the next level and you say, we got to weed out those that don't have technical knowledge. Technical knowledge is an important thing. Next, we weed out suppliers on the next line down. A lot of people think it's great to go directly to an energy supplier. And whereas that may sound good on the surface, the thing about an energy supplier is they can only give you their price. They can't do a competitive bid. And a lot of times they can't even make market recommendations. Most suppliers are forbidden from, making market timing recommendations. So we feel kind of the best case scenario is, you want to go out to all the suppliers because, whereas this time around, Strategic Energy might be the lowest supplier. And when Keytex goes out and we do, dozen bids every day, Direct Energy might be winning most of them for this week. Next week, it might be Constellation. It might be a completely different supplier. The week after that, it might be First Energy. So, understanding that the low bid supplier in a normal market always bounces around from supplier to supplier, you can see that for someone like Hempfield School District, the best case is, you never want to be married to one supplier. You kind of always want to bounce around to who is hungry for the business and who is low at that time. And that's one of the services that we provide. We make sure that we technically evaluate all these guys. We review their contracts. We competitively bid them against each other. You know, we have engineers and analysts review the bids, and you know, a very, very important aspect of getting the lowest price. So, you know, as you work your way down here, you know, eliminating people that don't have PJM experience, eliminating people that have kind of a small market presence, you get down to very few. You start out with thousands of people that could potentially do this work for you, but when you apply all these criteria, things that are very important, you know, to really do this the right way, you really only end up with dozens of companies that can really do this the right way. And, you know, we call, you know, kind of the bottom tier here, large technical consultants, you know, big market presence, PJM experience, and Keytex falls into that category. And, you know, when we look later on in the presentation and we see a lot of the good decisions that were made that has really saved Hempfield a lot of money, it's not by accident. It's because, you know, all of these things kind of come together to make proper decisions. Next slide. Slide 8. These are the services and products that we typically offer to customers. So LSE-related services is something that kind of the biggest of the big customers would utilize. You're essentially becoming your own supplier, so to speak. So you may have someone, let's say, like Alcoa Aluminum, you know, that uses more energy in one day than Hempfield does in 5 years. A company that big, that is that energy intensive, they can take on the benefits, but also the risks of being their own supplier. And there's ways that you do that within PJM. It's very complicated, but we can manage that for larger customers. Demand response, Keytex Energy offers this. We've done this with Hempfield School District for a lot of years. Demand response is a program whereby you can agree to curtail if there's ever an emergency on the transmission grid. There's a lot of reasons why you guys are located in probably the best geographical location to participate in this program due to PJM congestion, which we're going to go over a little bit later. But it makes the risk of that ever happening, an emergency, actually very, very, very low for this location. Actually, there's never been an emergency in the West Penn Power area. And, you know, so you guys have been participating in demand response, I think, since, I believe, 2012. And we still haven't had an event. Competitive procurement for electricity and natural gas. Obviously, we talked about this earlier. We can manage the competitive bidding process amongst all suppliers. We make structure recommendations in terms of the contracts. We make market timing recommendations. We review contract language, all those things. Energy market intelligence, you know, we can provide, some customers want a significant amount of energy intelligence, reports and graphs every week. You know, we can do that. We can send monthly graphs. We can send forwards. We can send real-time prices. It's just really, you know, what does the business need to feed their organization in terms of data. We do data warehousing. So Hempfield's contracts, all of their usage data, everything related to your energy procurement is data warehoused within our systems. It's backed up. You know, anything that Wayne or anybody from the district needs, we have quick, easy access to. We can do ad hoc types of evaluations. Say, for instance, you know, you have, I'm trying to think of a scenario. Sometimes people have energy efficiency vendors come and they say, listen, you know, we can change out all your light bulbs, you know, but here's kind of what we need to evaluate and decide how much you're going to make by doing this. We have easy access to all that data, and we can put together reports to help you guys through programs like that. PLC NSPL management. This is something that Wayne and I, over the past couple months, had a good bit of discussion about. PLC and NSPL are essentially a measure of what Hempfield School District is using on the grid's 5 highest hours of the previous year. And it's kind of complicated in how it works, but the grid tries to build itself based on what the peak for any point in time is going to be. So they have to make sure that there's enough power plants, enough space on the transmission lines to serve that peak day. So the way they allocate those costs of being able to build itself for the peak day is they look what every customer was doing on the peak day from last year, and they assign everybody a number called PLC and NSPL. The reason that that's important is, for whatever reason, let's say on those 5 highest hours last year, you guys, for whatever unlucky reason, were having events go on, whatever, something that doesn't normally happen. You could see a year where your PLC might be 1 megawatt, 1 megawatt, 1 megawatt, and then all of a sudden, the following year, it's 1.5 megawatts. Okay, so you had essentially a 50% increase. And when we do the analysis, we see, you know what, that's not something that's going to sustain going forward. But the problem becomes when a supplier does your pricing for electricity, they have to go by whatever your last PLC is. So you have a situation where a supplier is going to say, okay, I'm going to price the next 3 years based on this 1.5 megawatts. Well, that's when we do what we did with Wayne a couple months ago. We say, Wayne, we need to change your contract structure. We're going to go with a capacity and transmission pass-through contract. That way, you're not going to be harmed by the fact that your PLC went up by 50%. You're only going to be harmed in that 1 year. You're not going to allow suppliers to project that out going forward. So the contract that's actually taking effect this year is a capacity and transmission pass-through contract for exactly that reason. The last couple here, real quick, we do bill managing, auditing, energy efficiency projects, and we also have smart technologies where if you want to automate things, automate curtailments, automate your HVAC system to sell back energy to the grid, we have all kinds of very smart and complicated programs like that. The next page, slide 9, is a sampling of Keytex Energy clients. I think this is very, very important when you look at who you work with. Look and see who else is making the same decisions as you. As far as education goes, we work with about 45 school districts. We work with Seton Hill University, St. Vincent College, Westmoreland County Community College, Waynesburg. Local government, we work with all of Westmoreland County, the prisons, the courthouse, public safety, municipal water supply, the prison, some bigger customers, steel mills. We work with Latrobe Steel. We work with their parent company, Carpenter Technologies, Gautier Steel. We work with all the giant eagles across the region, Gallagher's Dairy. So this is just a very small sampling of our customers, but in the region that we're in, it's pretty significant. Most of the large load in Westmoreland County is managed by Keytex Energy. Next page. So these next 3 slides, I don't want to drag the presentation out too long, but we're just touching quickly on and trying to illustrate some of the technical things that come into play for energy pricing. So the next 3 I'm just going to really gloss over really quick, but what you see on 10 is the transmission grid. And the transmission grid really plays into a lot of things with electrical pricing. Next page. What you get is you get some very weird dynamics on the grid with pricing. And the reason is the power plants, to a large degree, you're looking at what's called PJM congestion on this page. Power plants are largely located in the coal belt, which is in the dark blue area to the left. So, back in the day when we were building these big coal-fired plants, we put them over the fuel source. And what transpired over the years is most of the load ended up being further east, Philadelphia, New York, Baltimore, DC. Okay, so on any given day, you have all the power is kind of moving from left to right on your paper. Well, you have power lines that are kind of sized at a certain size. So when those power lines kind of max out, you have really crazy things happen with the prices in order to alleviate that congestion. So what we're showing here is you can see northern West Virginia during this time, power prices are minus $20. That means if you wanted to buy power in that gray region, they would pay you $20 a megawatt hour to buy that power. And then just 100 miles to the east of that, power prices are $250 a megawatt hour. So when we talk about demand response and why Hempfield is at much less of a risk of actually having an emergency than someone further east, this congestion pattern really plays into that answer. We're going to skip number 12 because that's essentially just another congestion graph. The next one, 13. This is capacity, and capacity represents two things. It represents how you get paid for demand response, and you guys, one year might see a check coming in for $10,000. Another year you might see for doing the same exact thing as you did the prior year, you might see a $2,000 check. And that's because of the logistics of capacity that you're looking at on this page. Capacity typically has this boom-bust oscillation that goes on because it really deals with people building things, building power plants. And when capacity prices are high, it's very much an incentive for people to build power plants. Inevitably, people will build too many of them. The price goes from being high to tanking because of oversupply, and it just kind of follows that oscillation. So it's an important thing to understand when you're looking at your demand response payments. Next page, 14. Natural gas, we all live in kind of a Marcellus shale region here, and there's been a lot of dynamics that have affected both electricity and natural gas prices over the past 10 years. So what we talk about here a little bit is, the fact that, believe it or not, natural gas in many cases sets the price of electricity because many power plants are powered with natural gas right now. So in order to kind of look and forecast what prices are doing, how stable they're going to be, a lot of times we're looking at these pipelines for natural gas, looking at how quick pipelines are being built to offtake the drilling that's going on around here and all the various projects that kind of impact that. Okay, next page. This is kind of the start of where we're going to talk about performance and how things have looked for Hempfield over the past 10 years under our management. We just got a few more pages here. I know it's a long presentation. So this is demand response. We talked about what it is, but we have, since the start of 2012, we have directly written checks from Keytex to Hempfield totaling $215,000, $215,345. So those checks have been written to you guys on a quarterly basis over the years. It's a program that we've managed. We've been able to directly manage this program for you guys because we're a PJM member. Any competitor that is not a PJM member, they would have to offer this through a third party, so there would have to be a middleman involved. In terms of going forward, there's a lot of dynamics that are changing with demand response. And what I would tell you in the short time we have is that it's one of the most complicated programs that we have to explain to customers. The risk profile year to year changes as PJM rules change. And what I can tell you is on a yearly basis, if not more, we sit down with Wayne, we explain any changes to the program. Between us and him, we assess any change in risk to Hempfield School District. We look at potential revenue based on base residual capacity auction prices, and we kind of make a decision not only whether to stay in the program, but how much to curtail each year based on risk. Next page. For electricity and, well, primarily for electricity, when viewing performance, we're going to look at three basic metrics to do this. There's a couple different ways to do it, and the first is we're going to view the forward energy curve, and we're going to look at all your transactions on the forward energy curve. It certainly tells a story. Second, we're going to compare the transactions we made versus the West Penn Power default rate, which is what you would essentially get had you not chosen to shop. And then we're going to calculate where Keytex Energy transacted against the wholesale market max, min, and average. So for next page, which is the first graph you'll see. What this is the forward energy curves for PJM West Hub on peak. So these are calendar products, and this is one of the main tools we use when deciding when to transact for a customer. And the red X's are the transactions that we made for Hempfield School District. So coming into this, if you look at the first circle on the far left of your page, if you can imagine to the left of that circle, the prior year was kind of an oscillation up at those same levels of price. Okay, so we were in a situation where there were a lot of people watching this bouncing, and a lot of competitors and a lot of customers were wanting to transact at those levels. We felt very strongly, based on market fundamentals, that we were going to see a push downward, and we were patient. And you know, one of the main things in energy buys and natural gas buys, or electricity and natural gas, is patience. You know, this is not unlike the stock market, and you don't always want to do what everybody else is doing. And when you see, you know, a market pushing upward, and there's this panic situation and people want to cover their positions, you know, sometimes patience is the best thing. And during that first circle, I think the best thing we did was not transact. You know, we felt strongly the market was going to fall. Lo and behold, it fell to a 5-year low, and we transacted, actually at the perfect location. After that transaction, we saw the market bounce back up. We saw some oscillation in the market, some rises, some falls. And then heading toward the second circle from left to right, we started seeing another significant run up. And you know, there was some talk that the market, you know, it's never going to see those low levels again. You saw a lot of customers transacting. And again, you know, patience. We really studied the market fundamentals, and we thought, you know, this is a short-term run-up. We think that you know, given the time we have to transact, we think that we're going to see an opportunity to transact at a lower price. Again, the market fell. We transacted at the second red arrow, or red X, I'm sorry. The next three transactions were in a downward trending market. In a downward trending market, the market's essentially trying to find a new bottom in a lot of cases. This is not unlike support levels in the stock market, where if something fundamentally changes, the resistance point that you've seen for maybe many years all of a sudden changes to a lower level. So the strategy when you see a falling market like that is you kind of shorten up on your transactions, and you know, you don't necessarily do a 3-year transaction because you're in a falling market. So you time your transactions closer together, you follow the market downward, and you try to hit the bottoms of the valleys, and that's exactly what we did. After that point in time, we saw a bounce upward again, and again, patience, the market tailed off, and we actually transacted at a 10-year low on the last transaction. So from a graphical standpoint, There is a lot of technical reasons why the transactions happened when they did. And as you'll see on the next couple slides, the performance actually saved a significant amount of money for the district. So this slide, if any of you invest in the stock market, you hear a lot of people use the term dollar cost averaging. And dollar cost averaging essentially says, hey, nobody knows what the market's going to do. So I'm going to space my transactions out equally, and I'm going to make equal buys every so often. And you essentially end up with the average price when you do it that way. And I got to tell you, a lot of competitors will make buys that way. A lot of customers that manage their own energy will actually use dollar cost averaging. So what we're doing with this slide is we are comparing what we did to had you dollar cost averaged your buy, essentially got the average forward price. So looking at the red, the green, and the blue arrows, during the term of your contracts, if we look at where Keytex could have bought energy during all of these 10 years, okay, the average max of the market was 53.16. Okay, the average minimum of the market was 37.29. Okay, if in theory, if you would have dollar cost averaged, you would have bought around 45.23. That's essentially the average. If you would have integrated under the curve of that complicated curve, it would have come out to around 45.23. Keytex Energy, with our buys, we actually hit 39.45, which is significantly lower than the average. So if you do the math and you figure out how much that saved you in terms of comparing it to the average, it's nearly $700,000 over the course of the time we've been managing your energy. Now, keep in mind, that's just against the average. We often have clients come to us from other competitors where they are actually transacting quite regularly above the market average. Okay, so, you know, had you had somebody else do it, or someone that maybe wasn't as technically sound or didn't do all the things that we did, you know, you may have been above the 45.23, which would, you know, make not only a $700,000 difference, but it could make, you know, if you were halfway between 45 and 53, you would have been another $300,000 above that. So from a performance standpoint, it really doesn't get much better than this. You're never going to hit the exact bottom of the forwards. You're doing great if you're below the average. This far below the average is very, very difficult to do. Next page, the second method we were doing is we're comparing it to the price to compare had you not shopped. And it's a fairly simple calculation doing it this way. Doing it this way comes out to $600,000 savings. So had you not shopped, you would have been $600,000 more than you spent right now. And again, doing it the other method, analyzing the results, $700,000. Next page, just a quick note on natural gas. And there's a note here on this. Natural gas, we actually do that in a consortium with the other school districts in the Westmoreland IU. Okay, so we don't all transact at the same price, but we all transact at the same basis level. So as a result, in the interest of not disclosing other school districts' information, we didn't necessarily put the dollar signs on the left side here, but the shape of the curve kind of tells the story anyway. The spot market is in blue, okay, and the transactions that we've done for natural gas are in red. So you can see we've steadily managed the natural gas contracts downward. This is done because it's for the larger group in a little bit more conservative way than we do the electricity. And you can see that again, there's spikes upward, there's spikes downward, but we're maintaining a nice steady trajectory downward. So every time you do your budgeting here, it's been nice that we say, you know what, your price is a little bit lower. And the last slide is actually just our final thoughts, and I'm just going to hit them all real quick one more time. Technical qualifications are extremely important. You know, it's very easy, and there's many companies out there that simply say, you know what, I can get you a low price, and they make a phone call. That's not what we do. This is, you know, to manage energy the right way, it's complicated. It requires experience, it requires engineers, and there's a lot of technical things that we look at. You know, again, you don't have to, but those are the folks that don't have the performance of the $700,000 savings. Okay. Let's see, 3, we covered 2, 3. Again, same thing I just said. Number 4, we manage your PLC, we time the market, we recommend contract structures, we competitively bid to all suppliers, we review contract documents before signature, we review and fix billing issues, we offer direct demand response service, we data warehouse, we do all these things, okay? Hempfield School District made over $215,000, excuse me, in demand response. We think it's very important, the third from last bullet, consider who else is using a consultant. You know, I think that tells a lot, and we're managing, again, most large companies in Westmoreland County. Lastly, the last slide, just in terms of how we support Hempfield School District. Hempfield's my alma mater, and you know, we actually feel that it's very important to support you guys. Ever since we've been working with you, we have given $500 scholarships each year to an individual Hempfield student. That's something we're proud of. We've been doing for a long time. We actually support a lot of your athletic calendars, and you know, we hope to continue all those things in the future. So again, with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you for a nice report. Any board members in the room have questions? Anybody? Jeannie or Sonia, you still on? Do you have any questions?
Yes, I'm here, and I do not have any questions. That was a very thorough presentation.
Sonia?
I'm still on, and no, I'm good.
Okay.
Okay. And
Thank you
and
for
again, I'd
that.
like to just, you know, wrap it up by saying we really truly appreciate the past 12 years that we've worked with you guys. We don't take it for granted. You're a valued client of ours, and we really hope to continue that relationship in the future. And again, I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate
Thank you.
Greg, would you ask Carl to step in, please? Thank you.
And we're waiting for one more presenter to come into the room. Anything, Tammy, you can go over while he's coming, or no?
I can mention that Jacob is on the line. I don't know if we want to do the student report. You want to
Do
do
that,
that?
or you can speak to your, the high school. Remember we talked about that?
And actually, Dr. Connor's going to give an update in regards to this past Monday, last week. We have 1 week now where our middle school students have returned to school on a daily basis if their parents so chose. And I'll have Dr. Connor then provide an update in that regard.
The one thing I would say, talking to all the middle school principals, it was to a T how exciting it was to see our students just smile again and being around their peers that some of them they haven't seen since this past summer. So that joy of coming back to school is present even with the social distancing. And when I say smile, it was with their eyes, obviously with the mask on, but it was great progress, and very excited. Obviously 1 weekend, a couple bumps, but very happy about it and looking forward to the same process now starting at the high school. We started planning this past Friday. There's a lot more logistics with the high school, bigger kids, bigger problems, but we're excited about that. Families should be looking for a survey that'll be coming probably tomorrow, asking about intentions about their student and whether or not they'll be coming back to school on a daily basis or remaining in the AB or completely virtual environment, so we can begin planning our overflow spaces here at the high school.
Sounds good. We'll go to board questions after the next presentation, because I know you guys have been waiting for a while. Welcome, Ned, and welcome, Carl. Good to see you both. And you can use the microphone up there. Wayne, you want to take over and introduce?
The last presentation that we have scheduled for tonight, we'd gone over workers' compensation, electricity and natural gas. These are our business insurances, and we've asked representatives from McDowell Associates to be here tonight. And we have Carl Eisenman and Brad Roth. I'll turn it over to those folks at this time.
Obviously, I'm not as tall as the previous speakers.
You better grow a little bit.
Yeah, I think those days are done. Okay, I think there's a presentation coming.
Getting there.
Need me to help you again?
I got it. Thank you.
I won one.
I may.
Give me
I
a
may.
break, Scott.
We have 2 board members participating virtually, so I'm sharing with them on another computer screen at the same time, so they'll be able to
Okay.
hear your information.
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, we're set.
Okay, good evening, board members, Dr. Olicki, Mr. Wismore. McDowell Associates is very thankful to be here tonight, and myself and Brad Roth are going to go through the presentation. We do currently insure the Hempfield School District for the property casualty lines. Am I speaking okay into the speaker? Okay. And so the first one is just the introduction. The next is the broker profile. I'm pretty much just going to try to highlight it because I sort of respect the abilities of all of you to be able to read. But if not, at any time, please ask a question. We're a local firm incorporated in 1900, and we're specialized in the insurance business and products in Western Pennsylvania and several other states. We have 10 licensed agents, 1 service representative, for which there are 6 accounts consultants and 5 service representatives. Of the 11 employees, we have 5 that are Hempfield graduates and 6 that are current residents of the township. McDowell Associates has been in business for 120 years, and we specialize in commercial and governmental insurance programs. I also, in 1999, Ned Bear, who was president of Bear, Hellman & Tracy, merged with McDowell Associates and joined us. Unfortunately, Ned, due to COVID concerns, was unable to be here tonight. If we go to the account team, this basically shows each insured entity serviced by our firm has a lead consultant and a backup with 2 service representatives, which we will define later on as we go on in the presentation. And all the consultants and the representatives review the coverages and exposure review, answer coverage and claim questions, review and monitor loss control recommendations, and facilitate and oversee various services provided by the insurance services. If we go to the next slide, please, thank you. Lists the personnel that are dedicated to Hempfield Area School District. First is Ned Bear, who has 40-plus years of service. And as I said previously, was the owner and president of Bear, Hellman & Tracy before joining us. We have myself, we have Mike Gaitis, Cheryl Lacasio, and Susan Dixon are our commercial representatives to this account. And if you'll notice to the right are the respective accreditations that the various personnel have that service this account. If we could go on to the next slide, please. Thank you. Is the client service quality assurance. McDowell Associates provides a high level of quality customer service to ensure customer satisfaction, and we believe in timely replies to our insured when required. McDowell Associates currently insures 5 educational and 10-plus governmental entities with access to 4 major carriers that specialize in the educational insurance. And what I mean by that is basically in Pennsylvania, there are 4 entities such as CM Regent, Liberty Mutual, Utica, and Trident, and that specialize in school district programs. We have access to all these programs, and that's who we go to for pricing every year to make sure that Hempfield and Wayne brings the best pricing to you. We also have numerous workers' compensation carriers, and we are a partner with the Western Pennsylvania Insurance Agents, which is a cluster of Western PA agents, and we have a total volume of over $80 million in that group. If we go to the next slide, part of McDowell Associates is we're always approaching carriers and developing comprehensive programs for educational entities to be reviewed and evaluate for school districts. Part of the analyze and negotiate coverage for proposals from insurance company brokers, we do thorough remarketing and negotiations. We provide a summary of various insurance program options, provide analysis and recommendations, and ensure insurance policies are placed with reputable and financial responsible insurers. The next slide, thank you. And, you know, we represent the school district in all negotiations with insurers, including underwriting, loss control, and claims situations. Part of the regular evaluation, the account team provides support and advocacy on all claims at no additional fee. The account team will also work with the insurer's carriers, loss control representative to provide loss prevention services as needed. And all employees have updated IT systems with the ability to work in or out of the office, and we've had that capabilities prior to COVID. So during the COVID situation, it was very limited impact to our customer base. Our impact to the Hempfield Area School District is some of the major things is we've coordinated the claim service for the 2011 tornado claim, which paid out over $1.5 million. This past summer, we organized for the senior corporate attorney for CM Regent Insurance Company to be part of your COVID discussion at a pre-board meeting. And we do annual marketing of your insurance coverages. The nice advantage of our agency marketing the account is that the district does not have to have a consultant review the proposals since we do that in-house. And sometimes that is a cost up to $10,000. And I believe in the past the school district had used Bailey and Rabb as a consultant, but I don't think in recent years. More relevant to the school district, the next slide here, which Wayne has done an excellent job of overseeing our annual process and making sure Hempfield Area School District is getting the proper coverage at a competitive premium. Property limits have increased over the years. We've added coverage enhancements and all for a reduced premium. I would like to also point out one of the reasons why CM Regent tends to be the most competitive is they are a PSBA supported program. They understand school districts and they support school districts in the gray areas. If you look at the 2014 year, you'll see the PSBA trust premium, CM Regent, well, at that point it was PSBA trust, is $266,301. That year we had $27.6 million in property increase due to the Wendover project being completed. And we were also still seeing some of the response from the tornado claim experience. At that point, Liberty Mutual was $255,442. And that year, it doesn't show on the slide, but Wright Insurance also declined due to claim activity. Following year, $215,000. The premium went down to $237,728. Property values increased $5.5 million. The terrorism cost was reduced $16,605. And just to explain some of the property increases, Those are due to inflationary rates and also projects that the school district has completed. In that year, Liberty Mutual was at 239, 326, and Wright Insurance declined once again due to the, primarily once again to the claim activity from the tornado. 2016, the premium was reduced to 212,337. Liberty Mutual, 237,793. In 2017, 206, 332. Property value increase, 218. Premium was 207, 156. Property increase of 1.7 million. And I'd just like to point out, in those 2 years, when we say not remarketed, we don't mean that we didn't do anything with regards to keeping the premium low. We do go out and target lines like school leaders liability and auto in those years to make sure that we're getting a competitive price for the school district. We also, with the other school districts, excuse me, are getting quotes. And that way, by getting quotes with other school districts during that same 2-year period, we're getting to feel what the temperature is for renewal pricing from them. So if we know that, in this case, CM Regent was going to have a large jump, then we would have been prepared to remarket it within a 2-week period to the respective carriers. 2019, the premium did have a increase to 234,705. We did have a property limit increase of 6.1 million. We added law enforcement liability because you added police officers in-house. We increased the excess liability due to this exposure from 10 million to 20 million. We added cyber liability, and we added volunteer accident insurance coverage. In 2020, the premium was reduced to 208,468, which is the current year we're in. The property limit increased 7.09. And Liberty Mutual was at 198,193, and Utica Mutual was at 187,325. However, not all of their coverages were in line with what the CM Regent policy was offering you and the benefits. If we go to the next page, which slide? Thank you, Doc. I believe everyone has a pass out, and so I'm going to sort of jump to the PDF when I talk about this summary here. And it was a letter, the first page of the PDF is a letter from Ned Bear to Mr. Wismar. And basically, in response to your request to obtain 3 proposals for the district business insurance, I am enclosing a quotation from CM Regent as well as quotations Liberty Mutual and Utica, national insurance companies. Once again, we do the comparison of the coverages between the markets to make sure Hempfield is getting the right coverages for the right price. We evaluate loss history, and then you'll notice that we didn't recommend, Ned didn't recommend Liberty Mutual nor Utica National because neither of them could offer the 20 million umbrella. By the time you get premium coverage from excess market, you have several concerns. One is that the policy increases in premium, but also when you buy an excess policy over an umbrella, there's no guarantee that its coverage form is going to match 100% to what your umbrella is. So if you can get a true umbrella for 20 million, that is the better option than to get a 15 or 10 million umbrella with excess coverage. Then the next page of the PDF still shows you just the coverage premiums by line, by carrier. And once again, you'll see that Liberty is the low bidder based on what they presented, and Utica is a low bidder. But by the time, for example, on Liberty, you add 30,000 for their excess coverage, you're at 228,000. And when you add 15,000 for the excess coverage on Utica, you're at 202,000. One thing that I'd like to go to now is to the back to the slide for the 220 coverage variance highlights. If you could go back, Doctor.
Sorry.
Right there. Yep, perfect. The umbrella is the big number, but in addition to that, some of the other coverages that Liberty Mutual and Utica did not match up to with CM Regent. The property limit for CM Regent was $280 million. Liberty Mutual was $252. Utica was $274. The big one that I always think is a major concern is Utica and Liberty Mutual do not offer any mine subsidence coverage. CM Region does offer it up to the policy limits. So being in Western PA, mine subsidence is always a problem. Also, earth movement, earthquake coverage, Liberty Mutual, CM Regent gives you $100 million. Liberty Mutual is $5 million. Utica, $2.5 million. Once again, earthquake is not a major concern, but we've had some little shakes over a couple of years. Pollutant cleanup limits, $250,000 for CM Regent. Liberty Mutual and Utica are both at $100,000. Backup of sewer and drain coverage, once again, Liberty Mutual and Utica did not match the limits of CM Regent. Flood limits, CM Regent gives you $3 million, Liberty Mutual is $1 million, and Utica also gives you $3 million. Equipment breakdown, CM Regent gives you full coverage limits, and the other two carriers give you limitations. Underground pipe and drain repair, CM Regent gives you $25,000. Liberty Mutual is silent on it, so that probably means zero, and Utica only gives you $10,000 coverage. If you move over to the automobile, your current deductible is $500, and Liberty Mutual and Utica are both at $1,000. Garage keepers coverage, not that I see the school district doing any repairs on anybody's vehicles, but CM Regent does give you $150,000, and Liberty Mutual and Utica give you zero. However, with the garage keepers comment I just made, for example, a possible coverage could be if at one point you have a senior prom, not for the seniors here, but for senior citizens, and you have a service where you decide some of the students are going to park cars for the seniors. If they would be parking a car and damage it, that would be covered under garage keepers up to $150,000. Umbrella coverage, we sort of already discussed. Your general liability limits, your aggregate limit with CM Regent per any one location is $3 million. Liberty Mutual and Utica National are both $2 million. Medical payments each person, CM Regent offers $15,000, Liberty Mutual $5,000, and Utica $10,000. And those are basically the coverage variances. I know in the letter that Wayne presented to, or Ned presented to Wayne, it primarily signaled out the excess, but there was more to the process, but we didn't want Wayne to have to read more than 5 or 6 pages, even though he would have. The last slide, or next to last slide, is fees and compensation. McDowell Associates have been in 40 years experience negotiating premium coverage benefits with carriers by reviewing the insured's positive attributes and claim experience. We realize our commission only from what the carrier pays us. We do not charge any excess fees to the school district. And we have enjoyed a mutually satisfactory relationship with the district's administration and staff for many years, and we hope we can continue this relationship for many more years. The next page and last page is references. We provided you with several school districts in addition to Hempfield, and we also placed 2 municipalities on the list. And we wanted to just show you a mix of accounts that are similar in nature, but also other accounts that are similar in premium to what the school district is. At this time, are there any questions?
Thanks, Carl, for a really nice report, and I'll go around the room. Anybody in the room, board members, you have any questions? You all good? Jeannie or Sonia, do you have any questions?
I'm good.
I'm good.
Carl, thanks for a really good report. It was very informative, and I think the board hearing this is very, very important, so thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity, Brad, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Brad, for being here as well. I know, Brad, you hold him up the whole time, so that's...
Yeah. He's our IT guy.
I'm Tammy's IT guy, just starting
he
tonight.
is.
Who was that?
Brad's going to be around.
Was that Gianna yelled at?
Brad threw me a curve of driving out. I get this text, read it, and it said, "Hey, do you have thumb drives with the presentation?" I'm there like, "No, I got the presentations on paper." But everything was taken care of. Thank you all very much.
And you're sure you pulled over to read that text, right, Mr. Insurance Man?
I was coming through the city of Greensburg. I didn't want any of those people to pull me over.
Yeah, well, I think you might know somebody.
Some of the older cops, maybe. Yeah. Thank you all again. Have a great evening.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Just in closing, I do want to mention graduation. I'm not sure if you're aware that we have new guidelines that were released today in regards to maximum occupancy. So we're pleased to say that the new guidelines allow for 15% maximum occupancy for indoor events and 20% maximum occupancy for outdoor events. And Dr. Connor was in conversations with our high school principals in regards to graduation. And just want to mention that with the ability to have more guests in attendance for an outdoor graduation, we are moving forward with our plans for June 4th for graduation. However, in the event of inclement weather, we had discontinued having a rain date, but knowing that an indoor ceremony would lead to multiple indoor ceremonies, we are therefore planning to announce, and we'll announce this tomorrow and start to announce it in many ways, that we are going to have a rain date this year for June 5th, just so that we can continue to have the event outdoors if needed in order to accommodate, we're looking at 2 guests per graduate based upon the current spectator limitation. So we'll see. Certainly graduation is several months away, and it may get even better between now and that time, but we are moving forward with plans for graduation.
So I missed it in the beginning. We're having 1 ceremony or 2?
We believe we can hold 1 ceremony with the limits that were announced today.
That's great.
Yes.
Gianna's got a big smile.
Very exciting.
Yeah. So with Matt and Tammy's report, are there board questions on opening up the high school a little bit further? Any questions from board members? Mike, go ahead.
What at this point, do we have any kind of a timeline or anything like that for the high school to come back 100%?
I'll turn that over to Dr. Connor.
Sure. Right now, we're looking at the 4th 9 weeks just because of looking at the simple logistics of the overflow spaces, how we're going to feed the students in different areas of the building, parking, staffing. So right now, we're looking at the 4th 9 weeks. We're going to send that survey out tomorrow. As soon as we get those results back, we can go full speed ahead, working with Mr. Anthony, Mr. Edged, Wayne, Stace for the cafeteria. So there's a lot of moving parts, but I know just because we got done with it with the middle school, I don't have any doubts that we'll get it pulled together very quickly, but worst case, beginning of the 4th 9 weeks.
What date is the beginning of 4th? Or approximate date if you don't have it?
March 25th is the end of the 3rd 9 weeks.
Okay. Well, that might tell us.
Yeah.
Beginning.
Yes.
Yeah, it would be nice, especially to get our seniors to be able to there full-time and as quick as possible.
Quick
You
as
can do it
possible.
quicker, that'd be pretty nice. Other questions from board members in the room? Anybody? No? How about online, Jeannie or Sonia? Any questions on graduation or opening the high school?
I'm good.
Good. Okay, one thing I'll tell you, so the public hears this too, and I don't think we can say it enough, the work that this administration's done and the staff, and our teachers have worked right with us. We've had very, very little disagreement from them. They've rolled their sleeves up. They've worked hard. They've really pitched in. Our district has been pretty solid, I think, all year. We did take some time off when the high rates hit right before December. And I can tell you to a person in here, whether it be executive session discussions for legal or personnel matters, or whether we have discussions in public, I've never seen anybody on this, in the board or administration, not have the students number one in their mind. We know we've had the students really be put out over this, and it's tragic. And Gianna, you can tell your friends that, and I just want anybody listening to hear that too, because every board member has expressed that, and we've been rock steady, and I appreciate your plan, Tammy. It's gone real well, and I hope that high school can get opened up as soon as possible. So, Mike, you had something?
I have a question. With these new restrictions about travel, are we going to revisit the cheerleader trip and the band trip?
When you say restrictions with travel, are you referring to the governor's restrictions that whenever you return, you need to quarantine?
Yeah, let me, I was gonna address this in my report, but I guess it's coming up now, so I'll just.
Why don't we wait for your report, because we have something else
Okay.
with that too. Is that okay with you, Mike?
Sure.
Yeah, if that's going to be addressed then. Okay. So anything else, Tammy, on your?
No, I just want to say with graduation, we are looking at securing the services of the same company that we used last year, because we did need to, for our sound system, be able to utilize both sides of the stadium. And we will be looking at securing an agreement with them tomorrow, now that we have shared this evening our intents to have a rain date, because that does require an additional charge. So we'll work to get that agreement together to include for our March 15th board agenda. So we'll add that motion for our next meeting.
And then you have these other three things you're going to go over too?
That's for next week.
For the next one, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be part of the superintendent's report.
Right, for the next time.
Yes.
Okay, I just hope it's not as hot as it was last year. I actually prayed to God that I didn't pass out before I got up there to talk to the students, and they'd be dragging me out of there. Is that it?
That's all. That concludes my report. Thank you.
That was a good report. It was very informative, covered all bases. Any hearing of citizens, Pam? None? And student reps, Gianna?
Okay, so tonight I actually have a question. So I wanted to ask if you could give any details of the prom. Many students, of course, are asking daily. A couple of the other districts announced their invitations and that they're going to have the event. So I'm just curious if you can give me any information or confirmation that it's happening and what it may be.
Dr. Connor, you want to take that one as well?
Trying to avoid that. But no, actually, when I met with the high school administration last week, it was a rather long meeting, and I enjoyed every second of it. But besides graduation and bringing all the students back, we did discuss the prom and hosting an event this year and making sure that it was announced very shortly. There's a lot of neat ideas that they have, but I know that they have to review with Mrs. Sternick and make sure that everything can work out as planned. So it's anticipation, it's building, but they will be announcing something very shortly.
Okay, can we confirm it's happening? Whether not.
Sure, we can confirm it's happening.
It's T-minus 2 months from tonight.
Understood.
May 1st.
Understood. Yes, I can confirm there will be an event happening.
Okay, thank you.
Gianna, you can still pick up your petition to run for school board.
Gianna, you
What that
do
event
realize
looks like.
you went over everybody's head at the high school. You realize that. Chain of command was gone, right over the principal, right over the sponsor. Good job. I like that. And you put Matt on the spot. Anything else with your report, Gianna?
That's it for tonight.
And Jacob's online?
He is online.
Do you have anything?
No. I would just like to add that, like, I'm just really happy that athletics is, still in session. 'Cause I do football and lacrosse. And I know that keeps a lot of people sane, especially in hard times like this. So I'm just really happy that normal things are still happening in an unnormal situation. Thank you.
Thank you both for your question and for your comment too, Jake. And I just hope we open up more and more. I look at it very positively. I look at the numbers going down. I look at the vaccinations being given and the herd immunity getting close to. And I'm really hopeful by the end of the year we'll be close to normal. And I spoke to Tammy about the prom, and that's something everybody wants to happen. So, okay, and thank you again for that report. Solicitor's report, Mike, and maybe if you could also, Michael, touch on Eric. You did discuss with Eric today?
Yeah, so a couple of things.
I'm not going to do your report. Go ahead.
All right. But just specifically to talk about the order that came out today from the governor's office. Essentially, they did three things. As Dr. Willicke has already touched on, The maximum occupancy limits for indoor events is now 15%, up from the 10% that it was previously. Not a big change, but obviously, again, just a slight increase in the change. The 20% for the outdoor occupancy is also an increase. The other thing about this is that this is now a 20% occupancy regardless of the venue size. The previous order had sort of this graduated scale where the larger the venue changed the percentage that you could have to sort of cap. Essentially, it capped the total number of individuals you could have. So even if you had a massive facility, you still were limited on how many people you could have. That is gone. So for outdoor events, it's now a straight 20% of capacity. So that actually is probably a more dramatic change than the indoor one. And finally, as Mr. Alfieri started to allude to, the travel restrictions that have went into place on November 2020, which had stated that for anyone who entered Pennsylvania from another state over the age of 11 were required to present a negative COVID test or quarantine for 14 days. That has been lifted as of today. The order states that this is based on the downward trend of cases nationwide and the implementation of better testing and vaccination protocols. So to the degree that we have been using that particular restriction on anything, that restriction has been removed. The other thing about this order, the way it's written, I obviously can't guarantee anything in the future, but it does seem to imply the possibility is that if caseloads continue to decline, that some of these numbers may have the opportunity to go up in the future. So for events that are happening in the future, like graduation, it is possible that we'd be looking at higher numbers. I have reached out to Eric Nelson's office and been communicating with their office and again expressing our opinions as to specifics of the indoor restrictions and the percentages that have been placed for things like the musical, which obviously we've had these discussions on. I've spoken to his chief of staff as well. I have not spoken to him today. I called him today. I have not heard back from him today. And the only reason I wanted to talk to him today, and I will talk to him as soon as I can after today's order, because obviously today's order, in our opinion, is helpful. It moves things a little bit in the direction, but we still are going to continue to push for the state to continue to open things up a little bit more.
Board questions. Mike, do you have any questions to that?
Oh, wait, no, I was asking about the 2 trips that they requested.
Right. So the trips that were, I think, first there was a lot of conversation around the band trip and when to make the decision whether to move forward or not. It was not solely based upon Governor Wolf's saying that they would need to quarantine when returning to Pennsylvania. There were concerns with travel, with how would that number of students travel. I guess this is both cheer and band, traveling for a long period of time on a school bus together. I mean, we right now have some issues with quarantining whenever we have students on our school buses, and that's just from their homes to school. With meals, how would they eat in locations and be 6 feet apart? Sleeping arrangements, we would not want them sharing rooms if they needed to be 6 feet apart. So I think there were so many more pieces to this that it was much more than just looking at the need to quarantine upon return.
And actually, I should have mentioned this earlier. The other thing, not surprising, almost goes without saying, is this order specifies that all of these requirements are assuming that you're continuing to maintain the other social distancing requirements that the governor has put in place, the 6 feet apart, masking and that sort of thing. So, for instance, when you look at the capacity guidelines of 15%, 20%, you still have to be able to also at the same time show that you can meet that particular requirement.
And I'll mention where this does help us is where we have staff who may go out of town for the weekend and then need to quarantine upon return. That has been a challenge because we then need to allow them to, we're working to attempt to have them teach from home and then provide coverage in their classroom. So this does help us in that regard for our staffing.
And then we're also going to look at the, for example, Wendover for their volleyball. are we going to make sure we're going to put 15% of the capacity in that gymnasium?
Let Mr. Rapp speak to that.
Or I guess revisit all the numbers to make sure that we're getting as many parents in to see their kids as possible.
So these were just released today. I believe we were made aware right before noon of the changes. So Mr. Rapp has already been working in that regard. Do you want to share?
Yeah, definitely. We'll look at that for the middle school season. It looks like it may not help us enough at West Hempfield initially, but I do think at Wendover it'll give us the opportunity to probably allow some spectators in for that middle school volleyball season. So, we're going to have to get creative. We have 4 different volleyball teams, so they were not all scheduled to compete at Wendover. So we're going to have to get creative with that schedule and maybe juggle things. But we had some preliminary discussions today, so should we be applying that new number appropriately, I think we'll be able to make that happen.
Any other board questions for the solicitor? Anybody online with questions for the solicitor? Okay, Michael, thank you very much. I appreciate it. You'll continue updating us. So Tammy, and just real quick, then 15%. It went up from 10 to 15 for for indoor.
For indoor, correct.
So that didn't help a ton.
I mean, it adds 50%.
Yeah, 5 and 100.
Did you say indoor?
So for our musical, which is what, a month away?
12.
Middle of April, month and a half.
Month and a half. So we still
240 in attendance.
hopefully we can maybe push the issues somehow to
Continue
get as
to.
many as we can in there.
Yes.
That'd be nice. Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on. Board Secretary's report for the next meeting. We'll be having the minutes from February to be approved. And then Buildings and Grounds, Vince, doesn't look like there's anything there.
Nope, nothing there, but we did complete the 7 feasibility study presentations. So I think we're going to look to narrow that down and hopefully have some kind of report next week.
Yeah, we had some good candidates, too.
Yes.
Very good candidates. Okay, thanks, Vince. And educational programs, Jeannie?
Hi. Next week, or in 2 weeks, we're going to be asked to approve an agreement between Hempfield School District and the Westmoreland County Behavioral Health and Development Services and Westmoreland Drug and Alcohol Commission for the purpose of providing SAP coordinators through St. Vincent College Prevention Program for the 2021-22 school year. And also the letter of agreement between Westmoreland Case Management and Support, Inc. and Hempfield Area School District for the operation of the Student Assistance Program, SAP, for the 2021-2022 school year. The total for that will be $50,000.
Okay, thank you, Jeannie. Anything else, Tammy or Jean?
No, I'll just mention that is an increase from last year. Last year it was $20 each. So, $20,000 each, little difference there. However, we do feel with the current needs, knowing that we have students going through a pandemic, that need will be there. So we felt that additional $10,000 would be warranted to continue those services. There is a possibility that a grant is being applied for through the Westmoreland Intermediate Unit with other school districts, and if that were to occur, that may be able to help us to offset that to some degree.
Okay, thank you. And we'll move on. Thank you, Jeannie, for a good report. And we'll move on to the Personnel Committee. Diane?
Thank you. Next week, we will be approving retirements, leave of absence, hiring a part-time building aide at West Hempfield Elementary, employing a substitute paraprofessional, approving to employ two individuals through Cloudcast, and we will be hiring substitute teachers.
And that's it?
I'm sorry, that's it.
And Bob, do you have anything to add?
I do not, thank you.
Okay, and this will be on the consent agenda, correct?
Yes, unless there are concerns expressed by board members to have
Okay,
it
and
moved otherwise.
then I would just like to make the comment with these retirements, we're losing some really pretty good teachers here and one wonderful principal as well as a custodian, but Audrey Dell is probably one of the best principals we've ever had. She's very, very good.
Yes,
Very good, and it's going to be
missed.
sad to see her go.
Yes.
I'm sad to see them all go, to be honest with you. And we'll move on to athletics. Paul?
Okay, Nothing on the agenda as far as motions. I guess I will defer to Mr. Rath. We had an athletic committee meeting on Thursday of last week, and Mr. Rath is going to give us an update. I reserve the right to add commentary as well.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. Before I get to the meeting, too, I just wanted to cover what we've already talked about regarding the governor's order today with spectator gathering limitations and the ease of or the increase in the numbers there. So just also know that not only are we applying those to Wendover and the middle school volleyball season, but we'll apply those to all of our spring sports and those winter sports that will still compete throughout the postseason over the next few weeks as well. So, we'll have additional information out, to our community and parent groups as well as to how those numbers may apply. And certainly we're working with the league as well, to make sure that we still work within their guidelines. But if we have an opportunity to get additional folks, into those competitions, then we're certainly going to do that. So I just wanted to follow up on that. Another topic that we talked about at the athletic committee meeting last Thursday that is somewhat relevant to that order also deals with our banquets. We're starting, as we're approaching the end of the winter season, we're beginning to get a number of questions from those winter sports programs with regards to banquets. Certainly the order today helps. As we heard in our solicitor's report as well, I'm not sure we're there yet, but we may also get additional guidance as time moves on if the caseload continues to decrease and so forth. So we're certainly hopeful for that. But again, we will have information out to our winter sports programs with regards to banquets and what will be permitted and when. And then the last item that we talked about at the athletic committee meeting, and I know we've had this brought up over the last couple of months here at the general meeting, deals with middle school softball. So that was discussed at length on last Thursday evening. And just a recap, I know that the topic of the creation of a middle school softball program has been on the table for some time. And obviously even pre-COVID, I believe is when that started. So just a quick recap, as we revisited that topic, I had the opportunity with Mr. Ross and some other folks to meet with the students and their parents that are interested in creating that program. And again, through that meeting, we had a good opportunity to really gain a good perspective of their wishes and desires for that program. Some questions that we had, we asked them to go gather additional information through a survey and really kind of poll the larger student population. They were able to do that. So we really felt like we had a good understanding of the direction that group was looking to go and also how that may be supported by the general student body. So with that being said, we were able to come back and I was able to report to the committee on Thursday. And again, we reviewed that possibility at length. Everybody has the opportunity to review those minutes if you want to really go into detail. I just wanted to summarize today. But we spent the better part of an hour and a half to 2 hours just discussing the pros and cons. Certainly we recognize the pros of adding a program and the opportunities that may provide. But we also work with our entire middle school program and other sports and recognize that anytime we're going to implement something like this, we want to make sure that it's for the betterment of the entire program and the entire student body as far as that program goes. So there were also some challenges that we had to discuss. And again, in speaking with Coach and the committee, at this point in time, there is no recommendation to the full board from the committee to create that program. While it was a difficult decision, we recognize that there is interest. I had already mentioned we're addressing areas in other programs where we have seen the creation of similar programs have also hindered the programs in some way. When we look at the large number of participants that we may have, necessarily restricting those down to what might be one team only sometimes can prohibit participation in students from coming out in later years, and we're starting to see that in some other programs. I know we've discussed that. We have some plans in place on how to address those. So I don't want it to sound as though the committee is not in favor of necessarily creating a program, but we want to make sure that we're in a position where we can do it in the right way to not only provide opportunities for the current students, but make sure that we don't hinder that program in any form or fashion in years to come. So what that really led us to then was a broader topic, not just with softball, but with a number of our middle school programs across the board that we need to make sure that we're in a position to address all of those, including softball. And so I think we're going to shift our attention to a review of our entire middle school program and all of the teams and where we may be able to restructure and improve certain areas and address all of our concerns with participation and opportunity across the board. So again, my plan would be obviously to follow up with those students. I want them to know that at this point in time, I understand that obviously they may have been hoping for a different recommendation from the committee, but I don't want them to feel like their efforts have gone lost, because I think it has provided us a good opportunity to talk through a number of concerns and areas that we have with other programs as well, and really get some good dialogue on how we may be able to improve that. So again, I just don't want anybody to feel as though that it's never going to happen. I just feel like timing is certainly important, and we want to make sure that if we do this in the right way. So again, Mr. Ward, I don't know if you have anything you'd like to add.
Yeah, I guess in terms of, I appreciate the update, and it covers, I think, as a good summary of the meeting from last week. I will say that in terms of middle school softball, I've definitely, at least behind the scenes, been one of the ones pushing to get this decided, and really have been in favor of doing what we can to get a program. We want to see the kids be able to have a team to be able to play for their school. But I guess I will say that I've come around with the discussions we've had, with the concerns of creating one team and having it potentially hurt the overall program because of the number of kids that would be cut from the program early on. Softball at the varsity level has been such a successful program, and the concern I would have is it would feel good to create the team, but in the big picture, would it hurt the overall program? And for that reason, as part of the athletic committee, and part of those discussions, I support the decision that the group came to, and everyone was in agreement on that. I would say regretfully, because we'd like to see it happen, but again, I don't think it's worth risking the overall program. Maybe at a time, if financially we're in a position to create more of a middle school program where we have multiple teams, that might be something to consider, but I think at this point that's unrealistic. And then the other comment I would have, Brandon, I was pleased you brought up at the athletic committee meeting that you would like to review the overall middle school programs and assess that. And I think that's been a frustration. I think, Dr. Larn, you and I, for a few years now at the athletic committee, have been talking about the fact that we need to be more proactive in looking at our programs rather than waiting for requests to come in to create teams. So to me, that's one of the biggest things that come out of this, is a proactive review of the middle school programs and the needs of the district. And it doesn't have to be a one where it could be a 3-year or 5-year plan. It could be a 10-year plan, but at least you have a plan as to where we are and where we think we need to be or where we want to be. So I appreciate the fact that you had brought that forward to the committee to undertake that review. And that's all I have.
Any board members have any questions? I have several. This bothers me a ton. I just think we kicked those kids right in the teeth. They came to us last January. We went through telling them an excuse that we lost our athletic director. We never brought them to this board, let them come speak to us, even before COVID. We haven't had them speak to us. We told them, go ahead and get a survey done. They get the survey done, they get 60-some children in middle school. Now, these are kids who've had their year taken away from them. They ask to play for their team, for their school. They get 60-some children that want to play. I've been here long enough to hear a basketball coach tell us he wanted 1 or 2 middle school teams when I fought for 3, as we had, and to keep them, because he felt he knew back then who he wanted to play, and he came right in his not this boardroom, our boardroom, and told us that. Now you're telling me we have a coach saying, I don't want to limit it down to one team because there's 66 kids that want it. I was here last year during the same time the girls presented to the former athletic director and the committee when it was brought to the committee that we wanted a golf team for girls. The question was, are we going to have enough girls? Well, they found enough girls, then I have a golf team for girls. I've heard board members talk about it. I wasn't on the board. They wanted a lacrosse or field hockey team for girls in middle school. Are we going to have enough girls? They got enough girls. They got the program. Are we going to have enough girls for girls middle school-based softball? We got 60-some girls. We have enough girls. Oh, that's too many. We might discourage kids from playing later. All these girls, if you check them out, they play on several travel teams, several recreation teams all year long. They don't play together, all of them. There might be 2 on one team, 3 on another, 4 on another. They don't get to play as Hempfield. They play on rec teams and travel teams. Then they come together in the high school and play. And we're worried about some kids not making a middle school team, and then those kids won't try out. It's in every program we have. So I am glad you're looking at all of our programs and how do we make them all better. But I'm just mortified after 13 months and all this work these kids did. It's like, do more, do more, do more. Now you did enough, and now we're not going to do it. When we knew last year that that was a complaint. If we can't have 3, we're not having 1. That was what the coach had said. That's what we were told last March. But yet we waited till now, and there's not enough time. I suggest that we look and see if we can get them something. Maybe put it temporary for 1 year. Let these kids have something during this pandemic that they didn't have before. These kids want to represent their school. Heck, I'll sponsor the T-shirts. I'll buy the T-shirts for them if that's what you want. And I know it isn't what you want. And I am not blaming this on our athletic director. That man's a superstar. I had a conversation with him last Thursday, and I think he's going to make our programs and bring our culture back. And Brandon, I mean that. It's just, and Paul, I have the utmost respect for you and Diane on the athletic committee. The work you do for everything we do here. I just disagree with the principle, philosophy of this whole thing and the duplicity of it. And children are caught in the crosshairs, and now they don't have a program. And so, you know, we could always err and say, do it for 1 year and find a few teams to play. At least they'll have a chance. See how it works. If it doesn't work, then don't do it next year. But to do this to them, and they never did get to come here and give their survey, you can tell I'm upset. I am upset about this. This is not right. And I've been asking about it each month for the last several months about it. And, you know, and I've talked to some of the kids that did the survey, and they didn't know what was going on. And I understand they didn't present to the committee last week either. So it bothers me, and I wish we would have handled it a lot differently. I wish we'd have told them last year, forget it. So, Brandon, go ahead.
I'd like the microphone if I can, please. First, I want to share, we could have students come to each and every board meeting and present something that they want. And certainly they would share legitimate reasons. It's really hard to tell students no, and it's very hard in this situation. We have a process in place, and that process is if there is a request, we need to follow the chain of command. And I totally agree, we hired an athletic director that can follow that process. And those students did meet with Mr. Rapp. They did share their information with him. They did present to that athletic committee meeting last year. I don't have the exact date that they had presented. So the committee, the adults needed to have an opportunity to sit and listen to all of the concerns. And there were many concerns, which we won't go into great detail, but I mean, there's so much that you have to look at for just one team. And also, the program as a whole. I mean, we were hearing there are some needs for some other teams that I would say may be some safety concerns that we need to consider as well. So to say that would this be good for that one team and to bring those students and to have them in front of us, again, it's hard to say no to them whenever they're standing in front of you. We have to put a process in place, and I feel there is a process in place, and the process was followed. I've heard Dr. Learn, I've heard Mr. Ward for many years say we need an approach where we take a comprehensive look And that allows us to not be, and I'm going to use the phrase swayed with the wind, with someone coming in and saying, I want this program, and then we say, okay, and then I want this program. We have to step back and follow a process that allows us to be objective. And in this case, I feel that was done. There was information. I give those students credit because they demonstrated perseverance. They persisted. They followed what we were asking them to do. And I feel very badly that it's not coming to fruition. But I do feel we have to look at the district program as a whole and not become swayed by the request of a single team. And I know that's hard, but I do think that the recommendation of the athletic committee meeting is the right recommendation at this time.
Tammy, and I respect your opinion, but I am not here being swayed by one question or one thing. I am not here with a knee-jerk reaction. If all those students were lining up here wanting something that I didn't agree with, I would let them know I don't agree with it. I'm saying they could have come here and presented to us, and then we could have told them the proper channels to go to and go through it. This has taken 13 months to say no. This is wrong. And I know what the channels are too. I love the process. I love the process that he is putting in here. And I told Paul that on the phone when we talked the other day. The process going forward, that sounds really good. This was botched from the beginning. And maybe it was because of COVID. Maybe it's because of the change in the ADs. I don't know what it is. But I don't think the process was fair for these students, especially after 3 years ago they wanted it, and the coach didn't want it then, and we didn't do it, from what I was told. I don't know if that's exactly accurate, but that's what I was told. Now they came again, and the coach said he wanted 3 teams. I like the idea, but it would have to match the money spent too. So and what you're saying, I agree with 100%, Tammy. What this committee's done, I agree with 100% the process. I just don't think it was fair this time for these students in particular.
And so just a quick comment, and I know you said the students should have come here and we would have then directed them for the chain of command to go through, but isn't that the idea? You follow the chain of command rather than coming directly to the board. And I think I hear you, I know you're emotional about this, and if the emotional side of me would be I'll pull out my checkbook and I'll help pay for the uniforms too. But we have responsibility as board members and as committee members to make decisions that are best for the district, the overall district. And when you look at a program like that, if there are concerns that it may hurt the program because of the process or the system that's set up, why would we go down that path? I would love to see create a team, but why would we risk hurting the program? And that's where I land, because I think there's a bigger responsibility than just acting with emotion and creating a team just because we think it would feel good right now. It would feel good to do it right now, but is it the right thing to do? And the committee spent hours talking about it. It wasn't like it was a knee-jerk reaction.
I was talking about my knee-jerk reaction. Go ahead, Diane.
I was not able to make the committee meeting, but what I'm glad to hear is that the middle school program is going to be evaluated. So if anything has gone wrong in the past, we're going to evaluate and make it better. And I would, as much as it would be wonderful to see any team who wanted to be there to be able to be, I would prefer not just giving them a year, and then if it works out, fine. I would rather make sure it would work out, and then we would do it. But I do appreciate, it must have been a really long meeting, and I am sorry I wasn't there, and I do appreciate what you've come up with, no matter how hard it is.
Scott?
I remember sitting at the athletic committee meeting, and one of the things that we did discuss, and I wholeheartedly agree with you, Tammy, is the fact that trying to get a plan together and a game plan, and one of the things was to decide where are we developmental and where are we cutting kids, and because at an early age, in the middle schools, we're talking developmental. We're trying to build their confidence. We don't know who's going to be that star athlete when they get to their junior and senior year, so you want to be developmental there. Now, if you're cutting kids and you take somebody that might have been that athlete and given them an opportunity there, then it's counterproductive. And I agree. I mean, these kids were caught in the middle, and I think it was COVID. I think it was a change, whatever you call it, and I feel for them because, you know, a couple years ago, I didn't vote for the middle school field hockey team. It wasn't because I didn't want to see a middle school field hockey team. I just didn't think it was the right time. I think we need to have a better approach, and Brandon's going to put that approach in. And unfortunately, these ladies were caught in the middle of it, and I feel bad for them. And I with you know, Dr. Bompiani and Paul Ward, I would do anything I could for them. But right now, we're in a transition, and we have to go by that. It's just one of those things. So I mean, that's how I feel. I want to see us all. I mean, I want to see every program have a middle school feeder, or to give them the development and give these student athletes the confidence to be able to go play at the next level. So,
Other board comments? Jeannie, Sonia? Okay. Thanks for a good report, guys. I appreciate it very much. And we'll move on to supplementals.
Nothing to report at this time.
Okay. And finance. Sonia. She's still online?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay. Finance, Sonia?
Yes, next meeting, which will be in 2 weeks, that the permission for the business office to advertise for proposals for the Chromebooks for the 2021-2022 year, that the tax collector's report for final audit, and then the other items which will be filled in for financial statements that we always have for the next meeting. That concludes my report.
Thanks, Sonia. Anything else to add, Wayne?
We will have 2 additional motions that'll be added. One is a request for a tax consideration, and the second request is also for a tax consideration. Those will be added for the 15th.
Okay. Thank you. We'll move on to policy. Jeannie?
Next, in 2 weeks, at our regular board meeting, we will be asked to approve 4 policies that have been on 30-day review by that time. One is sexual harassment, one is discipline of students convicted and adjudicated of sexual harassment, one is dating violence, and one is evaluation of employees. We will also be asked to approve several fundraisers, and they are listed there. And I had one question, and this was just, I know we've had a meeting on policy, and I know we've had a meeting on athletics. And this is just for clarification. Where do our minutes go? Are they not attached to the?
Dr. Smith, I'll share with the athletics. So we had a meeting Thursday night. I was out sick on Friday, and I shared the draft of the minutes today with the athletic committee. So we'll attach them for March the 15th, but I did not want the minutes to be posted until the committee members had a chance to review them and verify their accuracy. And as far as the policy, we can attach those for March 15th as well, the minutes from the last meeting. Actually, we'll have had an additional meeting or 2 by then, so we'll attach them all.
We probably will. But no, this was just for clarification. I just wondered if they do, is this where we attach them? Do we attach them to the agenda?
We've been sharing them through the confidential as well, and we have recently just started to attach them to the public agenda.
Okay, and I think that's a good thing. Thank you.
Sure.
For the clarification. And that concludes my report, Tony, unless somebody has a question.
Any questions?
I have a question, please. Under the high school, number 4, under policy 00721, under the concession stand item, where is that concession stand going to be? Does anybody know?
Yeah, I believe this is for the musical. And last year, I guess the year before, we did not have a musical last year. They started to provide some additional, I'll say, opportunities during intermission, prior to the performance, and after. So this is dependent upon the circumstances at the time. We will have to continue to follow safety We will have spectator limitations. We'll have to have the 6 feet. So yes, all of those are with that, if that's what you're asking, Mrs. Bradgick.
Well, I am because and that's kind of where I'm going with this. There has been no other concession stand open anywhere to my knowledge. Is basketball having a concession stand this year?
No.
I know no outdoor venues, no outdoor sporting event has been allowed to have a concession stand because of COVID. So I'm just asking, what are our limitations with the indoor? What items are we going to be allowed to have with COVID, and what liabilities do we have there? I'm not looking to be the ogre in the room here and shut down their fundraising. I'm just asking, what are our liabilities here?
Yeah, I think we have to look carefully at what are the concessions. I know from the past, it wasn't that they were serving meals. That was more of a snack that they offered in between. So I see no.
Understood, but most of that stuff is homemade stuff that people bring in.
It does not have to be. Certainly that can be limited to prepackaged and purchased. And I know we have snacks that our students provide in school. We did for parties that they could not be brought from home. They had to be, or if they were, it was something they purchased from the store, individually wrapped. So I think it can be done safely.
Right. And that would be my only clarification, as long as that's worded that way, that it's prepackaged, right, the stuff from Sam's that's in a bag already labeled. I agree, but that's my only concern, because I've seen what they sell in the past, and I get that, but I know we're not allowed to do that with COVID right now. It's my only question.
And
Just trying to cover us.
your question's a good question. Michael Corns, is there something with that as far as what you're allowed to provide and what you're not?
Not that I'm aware of. We can look into it further. I mean, obviously, we have to specifically follow all of the spacing and distancing rules for however the concession stand is set up. But as far as a change in what you can actually provide food-wise, I'm not aware of it. But what we can do is we can verify before they actually set this up that whatever the current COVID rules are at that time are still being complied with. I mean, obviously, at this point, restaurants are open and other food service providers are open. So I think it's doable. We'll just have to work with them to make sure that we follow protocols.
Michael, that's a little different though. With the food service, they have to follow regulations. Me cooking a cupcake in my kitchen is totally different.
I did not believe that we were looking at home cooked items.
That's the only question I had, guys.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously there have always been rules in place about exactly home cooked food and exactly how that's being provided. I don't know that COVID has changed that specifically. However, we'll take a look at that in specifics for this to make sure that we are complying with those particular rules.
I do not believe our health and safety plan addressed that specifically as a district. Mm-hmm.
All righty. Anything else, Jeannie? Tammy, anything on policy?
No, thanks.
Rather than go through each one of these individually, I imagine we're going to have reports from all these committees and other the committees on the bottom here. So unless somebody who's on these want to say something right now, and I know, Jennifer, we're going to have that one motion that has to be voted on to approve their, the operating budget for Westmore Intermediate. So anything for the good of the board from anybody?
I do have something from Pete that I wanted to report, just briefly.
Go ahead,
There
Jeannie.
there was a presentation. I don't know if any of the other board members got to watch this or not, but there was a presentation on Thursday, February 26th. It was shared with all of us from the IU, and it was actually Governor Wolf's press conference on charter school reform. And they have introduced House Bill 272. They had on 2 legislators. They had on a superintendent, and they had on a board member. But it sounds like a pretty good bill. It's to give us oversight with the cyber schools and also have accountability. We do not have any representation on their boards right now. We have no idea how their money is spent or anything. So this is to give us that. It's regarding transparency and accountability. Also, another good thing that they have in the bill is the elimination of all cyber charter schools if our own district offers cyber charter. So, in other words, we would not then, if any district that had their own cyber charter would not have to finance somebody going outside to a cyber charter. But I felt it was very encouraging. This bill gives local control back to the district. It also still allows cyber schools and charter schools to continue to function, and they see this as a bipartisan attempt to rectify a bad situation right now with the funding. We want accountability and fairness, and we want it for both groups, the charter schools, the charter cyber schools, and the public schools. That's all. I just wanted everybody to know that that is moving forward.
Yeah, Jeannie, I'm glad you did bring that up because that's very encouraging. I hope it gets some traction in both houses. What did you want, Scott?
I just want to say something about the ticket.
Go right ahead.
Okay. I wanted to make mention of the Hempfield Area School District Foundation Funds Committee. We're selling a ticket for $10. As most of you know, we've had a Cash Bash fundraiser for 2 years postponed, so we haven't been able to have it or raise any funds. So we're using the ticket as our fundraiser this year. So, and what the foundation funds does is it funds scholarships and educational grants. But we are each committee member is selling them, and would like to ask if school board members would at least take 10 to sell for the committee. Would greatly appreciate it. But so if you see a green ticket, they're $10 donation. They go off March 26th. They've got 2 numbers. It's got a $500 cash and $600 worth of PA lottery scratch-offs. So, and I think that's it.
Thanks, Scott. Vince said he would take 25 tickets. It wouldn't be any problem at all. Any hearing of citizens, non-agenda items? None. So I have a motion for adjournment.
Second.
Motion by Scott, seconded by Paul. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. And I do want to make notice, we're going to executive session to discuss our, some legal issues on our hiring process. And Jeannie and Sonia, you know how to